business owner? Entrepreneur? Want to learn how online marketing can improve your business?
Your questions.
Our advice.
This is Not a Real Job.
Welcome to episode 86 of Not a Real Job, a podcast all about how to turn the things you love to do into the things that make you money. My name is Joel Kelly, and I do marketing way up in Canada.
And I am Chris Van Patten, and I do websites and other things in Barcelona.
All right, dear devoted listeners, as you well know by now, Christopher is off on the other side of the world. He's been journeying towards the center of the earth for the last few weeks, and he has made it to Barcelona in Spain. And as you can imagine, this has created some connection / internet issues for us. So if this podcast seems short and more rushed than usual, it's because we're suffering from an extreme connection issue. So I just want to let you know that to start off. But first of all, Christopher, what are you drinking tonight? Because it's like the middle of the night for you right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 11:05 here. I believe it's 6 where you are, something like that.
It is 6:05 here, yes.
Right. So for the moment, I am drinking a Moritz, which is a cerveza, which is a beer.
So you're drinking a lot of beer over there. That surprises me. You're not a famous beer drinker, but now that seems to be all you're drinking.
It's definitely a lot of what I'm drinking, mainly because I'm trying to limit or reduce hangovers, things of that nature. Does that make sense?
I guess. But why?
I know this may not be something that you've experienced yourself. I know that you're a bit of a cavalier renegade with your alcohol consumption.
Yeah, I've long since taught my body that it has no right to protest after heavy drinking, and it has stopped bothering me about it.
Huh. Maybe you'll have to show me a lesson or two.
Yeah, it's just called increase your tolerance by way of drinking yourself. I mean, I'm not going to say to death because I haven't died yet, but you know, the writing's on the wall.
There's still time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm drinking Canadian Club Chairman Select 100% rye whiskey. It's 40% alcohol by volume, and it only costs $27. This actually won.
Now,
sorry, go on.
Well, it just seems like a bit of fulfilling a stereotype, double stereotypes, actually.
How so?
The first stereotype is the obvious one, Canadian Club. Hello, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And number 2 is that this was the drink of choice for famous admin. That's ad man, Don Draper. And I know you are an ad man as well. So what's the deal? Explain yourself.
Well, I worried that there weren't enough similarities between me and Don Draper. Obviously, there was the skilled advertising. Obviously, there was the handsome, good looks and tailored suits. And obviously, there was the just abundance of casual sexual relations that I've been having with, any woman who crosses my path. And as a dedicated extreme chain smoker, which I'm also famous for, that part, sorry, I'm not a smoker. That's the only part of this that isn't true. Anyway, I did think that my Canadian Club consumption was kind of the missing piece in all of that. So, but actually the reason I'm drinking it is because I'm also swayed by expertise. Obviously, I know nothing. So when people who seem to know something tell me to do something, I do it immediately and aggressively and without a second thought. So in the 21st annual Whiskey Advocate Awards, the Canadian Whiskey of the Year was this Canadian Club Chairman Select 100% rye whiskey. So I saw that it was at my local Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation outlet, and I purchased it. And like I said, it was only like $27, $28. And it's pretty good. But like I said, what do I know? The advertisements tell me I should like it. I went expecting to like it, and I like it. So, yeah, there we are.
All the pieces have fallen into place.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this was the last major piece to kind of complete my whole look. So here we are, and I'm drinking it as a as I become more and more sexist, which I think has been a big topic of the show as I've really tried to dig deep and lean into casual misogyny. So I think this is just going to really help speed that along, if you know what I mean.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Now, Chris, we have a short show today for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Well, not obvious reasons, reasons that I told everyone about a couple minutes ago. You asked me to remind you to talk about the future.
Sure. So let me preface this by saying that I've accomplished a lot since the last episode of this fine program. I launched the beta of a new product that I've alluded to on this program. I have seen some of the greatest works of architecture in the Western world by way of Gaudi's La Pedrera and the Sagrada Familia Basilica. I watched 4 seasons of the fine television program Parks and Recreation. So I've done a lot, but nothing compared to what I saw tonight. And what I saw tonight was a glimpse of the future. Now, Joel, you may be familiar with movie cinemas, movie palaces, movie houses, the motion picture establishment.
Yes.
Is that a fair assumption?
Well, we have those in Canada. Yep. We have one company. It's called Cineplex. They do all our theaters now. And one bank called Scotiabank, and they own all the theaters. So, yes, I have been to the Scotiabank Cineplex Theater in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is a 18 theater establishment, I believe, also with IMAX. So, yeah, I guess you could say I know a thing or two about theater.
Sure. So you may also be familiar with the automated kiosks that allow you to purchase your tickets without human interaction.
Yeah.
Is that a thing you have in Canada as well?
We still mostly have old-timey person in a glass booth out front. But yes, I have also experienced the luxury of dealing with a machine instead of a fellow human.
Now, what if I told you that you could have this same experience at a fast food restaurant?
That's impossible.
I thought so too, but tonight here in Barcelona,
this sounds like this is the beginning of a fever dream, and you know how I feel about hearing about people's dreams.
I don't, but we can discuss that later. Because this is not a dream, this is reality. I went to an establishment, a McDonald's. You may be familiar. It is an American speed eating joint, and I swear, as the day is long, as the night is dark, they had in this McDonald's 4 kiosks for ordering your food without interacting with humans. You placed your order on a touch panel screen, you received a receipt, and then you took that to the counter and exchanged it for a bag of food without even needing to say a word or look somebody in their eyes. Now, this blew my mind.
Okay, but let me jump in here for a second. I think a lot of people are probably thinking the same thing that I am, which is the experience of paying for the food was never the problem. It was the fact that people were assembling it in the back.
No. See, you're mistaken, because that's not the problem. Because the people assembling the food in the back don't see the shame in your eyes as you're ordering your fast food.
Oh, I see.
You see you see the issue here?
First of all, I also need to stop you for a second, Christopher. We are an advertising podcast. We should use the corporate nomenclature. It's not fast food. It's called quick service. And second of all, we don't have McDonald's in Canada. As anyone who's watched How I Met Your Mother would know, up in Canada, we have an establishment called Harvey's. But I'm aware of what a McDonald's is. I believe they serve a breakfast sandwich and also a 3-tiered pork-based sandwich called the large Mickey, I think.
You're close. You're in the right ballpark. But anyhow, yes, I mean, imagine that this were the case at your Harvey's or what have you. Your Tim Hortons, I believe, is an establishment up there in Canada.
Right. Yes, we have those.
So you can imagine this is just a game changer. This is going to revolutionize the world, because finally I can keep my shame to myself.
But does this not increase the lineup? Because I I don't know about you, but up here we also have like self checkouts at grocery stores, and
Mhm.
regular people really seem to struggle a lot with with purchasing food items without a human to kind of coach them through the process. I can just imagine, maybe it's just the Canadians are dumber than Americans. This is likely the case. But I can just imagine a
Mhm.
lot of dumb Canadians lined up for hours trying to operate this machinery. Is there at least a human there that can kind of usher away the slower people and kind of coach them through the process, or are you just stuck behind someone?
Yeah, I did not see a human
Hmm.
involved in these transactions, which again is the point. There was an alternate path if you did not want to give yourself to the machines, as it were. You could go the traditional route, but man, I don't know why anyone would.
So like a movie theater then. Yeah, because we have our movie theaters have the automated kiosks for us grown-ups who can operate a very simple touch screen. But also you can buy your movie ticket while you're buying your milk duds, your popped corn, your sticky treats.
Mhm.
So
Sure, the accoutrement of the cinema experience.
why do you think it is that in Barcelona and only Barcelona? Because obviously you and I have never experienced these outside of Barcelona, so I can only assume it exists only there. Why do you think they're running this pilot program in Europe and not, where they should be running it, which is of course in the great United States of America?
Because I think in those great United States there is how do I put this delicately?
Hmm.
Uh, the shame that is involved in the fast food transaction does not exist in America.
I see. I see. In fact, I think
Sure.
what you guys do in a lot of your more shame-based activities, or like you said, in things that might be shameful in other countries, you guys kind of revel in it a lot more than others,
Mhm.
where let's say a European would be horrified by the existence of, a six-seater SUV going down a residential street. In America, it's kind of, a rite of passage to own a vehicle that is both egregiously large and inefficient, and to flaunt it in front of your neighbors.
Well, I mean, to add to that, I mean, in certainly in Barcelona, and I imagine other European cities as well, such a large vehicle would not even fit down many of the streets here. Simply
Mm,
just wouldn't happen. And I
because they don't have American engineering, they have to keep things very small and cramped.
Right, exactly. They don't have the cranes and the dozers, as we call them. They don't have that.
Now,
So they have
okay,
to limit their output.
follow-up question, Christopher. Um, I
Mhm.
am I am neither an American nor have I traveled extensively. I've only been to Europe a couple times. Are Europeans free? I know that you guys are big on freedom. Are Europeans free?
That's an excellent question. They seem to be. However, to be fair, it has felt a little bit like the Truman Show in
Mm,
some senses, almost as if they are pretending to be free for somebody else's benefit. I know that they are all socialists. I know that's a fact.
hmm.
S I mean, as is the case of anybody outside of America, you're all, dirty socialists. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess I would say is that I think they have the illusion of
Mm.
freedom, but they have not truly been emancipated, from the shackles of tyranny, as it were.
Gotcha, gotcha. They're still waiting for their George Washington. Hmm.
Sure, they
Yeah,
are still waiting for their 1777. Wait,
77.
that's not let's move on. You have some other notes in the doc here.
I'm really excited to find out what happened the year after. Anyway, yeah, I've got some notes. I went to an Apple store today. I don't know if you've heard of these. Do they have those in Europe? Apple stores?
They do.
They,
I passed one
do they
tonight.
just call them orchards over there? Sorry, haha, that was a little
Yes.
fruit joke.
Yes, they do.
I'm gonna do some really good podcast audio here while I pour myself another drink. I know this is what people tune in for, but anyway, I went to
Mhm.
the Apple store
This is
today.
somebody's ASMR trigger.
Oh, yeah, it is. Um, And I got to experience. So I went there to pick up a few dongles. I needed. I left my power cord for my MacBook Air at the office because I'm now using my home computer at work, which is a story that's not worth getting into. Actually, here's the story: my work computer sucks, and I'm still petitioning to get a new one. So I've been using my personal computer at work. Anyway, I'm not bitter. But I left my power cord there, so I had to pay the $11 to get the MagSafe to MagSafe 2 adapter. But while I was there, I played with the new MacBook Pros, which have the new trackpad, the Force Touch trackpad. And I gotta say, I was listening to the latest Accidental Tech podcast today, which, by the way, everyone subscribe to that podcast. It's worth you know why you should subscribe to that podcast? Because Cards Against Humanity keeps sponsoring it, and instead of giving them advertising copy to read, they're sending a toaster to one of the hosts to review. And it is fantastic because he very seriously and very thoroughly reviews these toaster ovens that Cards Against Humanity keeps sending to them. So subscribe for that reason only. But anyway, they were talking about how when you experience the new trackpads with the Force Touch and the Taptic engine below it, your first experience is, oh, I thought this was the new Force Touch one, but this seems to just be the old one that clicks. The Taptic engine that creates the feel that you have moved a surface and clicked something is so bafflingly magical. It's upsetting that a little motor can, like, anyway, to back up to people who don't understand this, because you can see I'm already getting too excited about it. You know how in your current trackpad for the computer that you currently own, the bottom half of it moves. Well, the whole thing kind of moves, but it's levered,
I am
like
verifying
the diving board.
this right now.
Yes.
As
Phil Schiller during the latest Apple event said, it operates like a diving board. The new trackpads don't move at all. It's just the glass sensor that figures out how much force you're applying, and the little Taptic engine moves to simulate the feeling of clicking. And then if you push it harder, it makes a stronger clicking feel, as if you have moved the trackpad even farther, and it's magical. That's all I can say. It's so good. It makes you think that it hasn't changed at all, which is impressive. And the really big deal is that now, while you're moving around, it can provide taptic feedback even if you're not clicking it. So it can give you the sensation of movement and texture. Texture is the interesting thing while you're operating on a screen. So you would, for instance, if you hovered over an icon or something, or as it does in like iMovie or iPhoto, when you're moving things around and things snap to, let's say, a grid, it can make it feel like you've tapped something physically. So it's actually, as they talk about on ATP, it's actually adding like a fourth dimension of sense. You've got your sight, you've got your sound, you've got your touch now, I guess, so a third, which is really, 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 really interesting. And I'm very excited to see. And as they were saying on ATP, again, impressive for Apple. What they've done is they've created something that people are going to get used to it so quickly that a computer without the Taptic engine and without such good force feedback is going to seem like there's something wrong with it. So again, incredible innovation. I'm very excited for my next computer. Once I convince my work to buy me a new one, I want the new MacBook Pros with, I think I'm going to get a 13-inch MacBook Pro with the Retina screen and the new trackpad because it's gorgeous.
Cool. Yeah. I have to say, I'm very excited for the new MacBook. The successor to the Air, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Do they have those in the stores yet?
No, they don't. Not till April 10th. That was the first question when I walked in. Yeah, they don't have them in the stores, but I completely agree.
I'm excited. I've heard a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about this computer, that it's not powerful enough for, the lack of ports, blah, blah, blah. But man, as soon as my computer dies or nears the end of its life, that is where I will be going to replace it. And I'm excited for that.
I completely agree. Like, look, I've bought last year's MacBook Air. I've got the, whatever this is, the 12-inch, the big one, 13-inch, doesn't matter. And I am so outrageously impressed with this computer. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the new MacBook was built for me. I travel a lot. I don't plug a lot of things into it. Like I'm never like it just yeah, it seems like a great machine. Yes, I do think it'll have two USB ports in the next version? I'd say I'm split 50-50 on that. They're obviously making a statement. They probably could have included a second USB-C if they really wanted to. So obviously Apple thinks that the way it's going is to not have multiple ports. So, I'm of two minds on that, but I don't really care.
You also remember that the first MacBook Air also only had one USB port. So this is something that a statement that they've been making for a long time.
But the MacBook Air was making the Air statement. Remember, but this isn't the new MacBook Air. This is the new MacBook. There's a statement being made about the only one port more than they were with the MacBook Air, because the MacBook Air, they could gesture it away saying, well, we're going for thinness above all. This new MacBook, that's not its position, is thinness above all. It's about efficiency. It's about a few other things. So the lack of the second USB feels more of a statement than it did on the original MacBook Air, which is all about, look, idiots, this is this is the best we can do. This is the all we can do to get it this thin, versus this new MacBook, which seems to be.
I would agree with that, but I would also say that I think this is the new MacBook Air. Obviously, they have not given it that name, but I would not be surprised at all if 2 to 3 generations from now, the MacBook Air dies and we're back to MacBook and MacBook Pro.
Well,
I think this, assuming that this works, I think this is the beginning of the end of the MacBook Air line.
This is what I thought too. I was of an identical opinion. And then I was thinking about, well, what can you do with the Air line? Sorry, the Airspace line, not airlines. Do I think this replaces the current generations of MacBook Airs? Of course. Obviously, it's just completely kicking them out. But if were I Apple, I'd really start thinking, okay, if this is the new MacBook, what does the MacBook Air look like? Is the MacBook Air going to be more of an amalgam between the iPad Air 2, for instance, and a MacBook Air? I feel like what they've really done is set themselves up with a brand new playground. You've got the Pros, you've got the regular. Now, what is an Air? Is it a touchscreen? Is it a fold-out keyboard that's not, a fully clamshell design? Yes, it's replacing this current generation of Airs, but I've moved myself over to thinking that perhaps the Air line sticks around, but it gets even more aggressive. It goes portless. It goes induction. I'm thinking it's induction powered and has no ports at all, and it's all over the air, over Wi-Fi or over Bluetooth, and they get rid of all the cables. Maybe it's just a lightning connector.
This is an interesting discussion. One, because neither of us have any idea what we're talking about, but I kind of disagree with you, which is a little bit unusual, especially on topics Apple related. I actually think that we're going to see the Mac line mirror the iPad line. So I think the iPad 3 is going to be the successor to an iPad Air 2. So we're going to have iPad mini, iPad, plain and simple. I think we're going to see that mirrored in the Mac line in terms of their portables. So we're going to have a MacBook Pro and a MacBook. And I think that the idea of a new playground, that's going to be the new range of products that they're going to be putting out. So I see the watch as being a new playground. I think the Apple TV, the next revision that is rumored, I think that's finally going to be something that they're going to really focus their energy on and use that. But I think in terms of the legacy lines, I think we're going to see a lot of simplification there so they can have the resources to branch off into these other areas. I think we're going to see the iPod die. I predict within a year we're going to see iTunes die, and I think we're going to see just kind of across the board paring down of their existing stuff, so they have the bandwidth to move into other areas without it feeling like they're throwing thousands of products at us. That's just a complete and total guess, but that's at least the direction that I would go personally.
Yeah,
if I were Tim Cook.
And I completely understand that. And look, you're as likely to be right as I am, if not more so. Especially because Tim Cook, when he was interviewed on Charlie Rose a few months back, or it's probably last year by now, like talking about how proud they were that every single Apple product is sold would fit on the table that they have in the Charlie Rose set. Like that's interesting. It's obviously something they're proud of, slimming down the product lines. But yeah, that's merely my prediction. That's your prediction. The one prediction that I think I am 100% right on and will be shocked if I'm wrong is my prediction. And so I've been saying this for a while, but I don't know that it's ever been recorded on the podcast. So I'm probably late to the game. I'm sure someone has actually written this down, and now it feels like I'm rehashing someone else's idea. But I am of close to 100% confidence that by before Christmas this year, Apple is going to release a TV set. I think it's going to be a 5K display like the latest iMacs. I think the Apple TV hardware that they're currently selling as a set-top box will be built in. And I also think it's going to be priced under $3,000. I think it'll be $299.99. And I think it's actually going to obliterate the current HDTV market because the Apple brand is so strong. People know they can trust it, and it's got Apple TV built in. And them greatly discounting the current price for the Apple TV set-top box makes me feel even more confident in that. So that's the only prediction that I'd be willing to fight for.
The current price of the Apple TV is, I think, a temporary blip. I think it's at 59 or 69 right now. I think that's only temporary. I think we all have sort of are starting to bet that we're going to see a revised version of that at WWDC in June. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're going to see a TV by Christmas, but I think the next Apple TV we'll see in June as a standalone device that is compatible with everything. And I think if we see that successful, I do agree that a TV display doesn't seem very far behind. And if nothing else, it's been a long time since they've revised the standalone cinema display, and I wouldn't be surprised if those two products were somehow interconnected. I don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. We'll see.
That's exactly. But what you said, that's pretty gosh darn interesting, is why would you sell a TV and a cinema display separately? Why wouldn't you just sell a cinema display that is also a TV and vice versa?
Well, I don't know if you remember the old iMacs, and I think this was actually a feature built in across the Apple ecosystem in terms of computers, was the front row display where you could use your Apple remote to activate a TV style display to sort through your iTunes music and photos and movies and things like that. And I saw somebody post, I think on Reddit recently, saying, hey, where the heck did that go? Like, what's my option if I want to, have a TV style experience with my computer? And I think that's going to be an interesting, I think that's an interesting question to ask in light of the Apple TV news. The idea that there might be an app store now for Apple TV, so they might start accepting third-party developers. I think we're going to start to see a unification of these different experiences into a single platform of some kind that is accessible in different places.
Yeah, and the reason that the cinema display isn't Retina still is the only reason, I think, is that Thunderbolt or mini display cable or whatever the non-branded name for it can't do Retina over the cable. The transfer rates or the bus or something isn't fast enough. Again, listen to a more technical podcast. But that's been the case for a few years now.
I'm curious then, what if USB-C, what's the case with USB-C? And I'm sure you don't know. I definitely don't know. I wonder if such a display could be supported by USB-C. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Someone else. This is why I wish sometimes we were recording live. Like, I love how ATP and other shows can do like real-time follow-up. But no, I don't know. Let me see. Yada yada yada. No, Google's not helping me here. Yeah, I don't know. But that would interest me. But obviously, like, if there's a company out there that doesn't give a shit about releasing new cables, it's Apple. So if you just have to buy an all new cable to make your Retina display work, I think they're going to be fine with that. And I think consumers will be too. I mean, like, I started this podcast talking about how I've got a power cable going into an $11 adapter, which is going into a computer. I mean, they don't care.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, I think we've started to drift in our sync. So maybe now's a good time to move into the final portion of the show.
Yeah, good idea. Why don't you start us off, and I'll or actually, I've
All
got
right.
mine already queued up. I'll start us off if that doesn't really fuck up our syncing here. Um, so the next portion of our show is our gear section. Go to notarealjob.com/gear to see all of our past picks. What I'm going to suggest that you buy today is let me get the official name. This is the Western Digital WD MyBook 4 terabyte USB 3 hard drive. So basically why I'm recommending this is because it's for $140. You can get a 4 terabyte external hard drive. This was the one recommended on the Wirecutter. It's super cheap, 4 terabytes. Why not get it? I got it to back up my horrible work computer so that I can wipe it clean, and hopefully that will help it work. And also it's a 4 terabyte hard drive, so why not? It's cheap. It's eligible for Prime, so get it. What about you, Christopher?
Good deal. I'm going to put in. Well, let me preface this by saying I'm not a doctor. I have very limited medical knowledge in general, but this is a product that I use and really like and recommend. So it is Nature Made brand melatonin with 200 milligrams of L-theanine, and basically what this is a sleep aid. So we may have discussed on the show. I have some fun trying to get to sleep and stay asleep, and I think I've recommended a sleep mask on here before, different things like that, a white noise machine for sleep. And this is sort of the cherry on top. It is a naturally occurring type of substance. The melatonin, it's normal thing in your body that helps you trigger sleep. And then L-theanine is an anti-anxiety component that is found in green tea. So this combines both of them. This is, not FDA approved. This is a supplement. So, it's not something you would need a prescription for. And you can get it for under $6 on Amazon, even less than that if you do the subscription package, which I do. So I highly recommend this. And you can find the link, as always, in the show notes.
Put the link in the notes now. I want to see this. That's interesting. I am a big fan of ZzzQuil, the totally chock full of chemicals, I'm sure, but everything's a chemical if you think about it. So interesting. I've been thinking about getting into melatonin and other drugs. ZzzQuil, as they claim, is non-habit forming, but I can guarantee goddamn to you, I have formed a habit. Not no fault of theirs. Please don't sue me, ZzzQuil. Obviously, you're not habit forming, and there's nothing about it that makes it addictive. This is just my personality. Please don't sue us. But oh my good golly, I'd be willing to try out something else though, because yes, like you, I require a series of chemicals and compounds to be able to shut my brain off at night.
Yeah, so I highly recommend this. They also of course sell regular melatonin, but I think having the L-theanine is really the extra boost. In particular because it is kind of anti-anxiety, so that kind of helps to slow down your brain a little bit, just in terms of trying to avoid thinking about the massive to-do list that you have and all the different stuff you have to work on and blah blah blah. The theanine sort of helps to calm that part down, and then the melatonin makes the sleep happen. So it's a winning combination, and I highly recommend it, again with the disclaimer that I am not a doctor. This is not a prescription drug. This is an unregulated supplement. So, your mileage may vary. Ask your doctor before you start taking it, blah, 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 etc.
Yeah. Also, you have to tell us if you're a cop. Anyway. That's not true. They don't have to tell us that. Anyway, yeah. So let's wrap this up. Notarealjob.com/gear, like I said, to get all our past picks. If you buy something through the gear, please use the link. It's got an affiliate code. It's the only thing we're currently doing to raise funds for this show. So if any of these things interest you, please buy it through the link that we provide on the website. Tell your friends and all that as well. Notarealjob.com, notarealjob.com/iTunes. Rate and review us. Tell us how much you love our show. We would really love that. Twitter.com/Joel Kelly, Twitter.com/Kristen Patton, Twitter.com/NargCast, Facebook.com/notarealjob, Stitcher.com/something. No idea. And I think that's it. I think
Cool.
I
Well, I think that does it. Yes, we crushed it. So our next episode, and possibly multiple episodes, depending on how things go, will be recorded live in London, London, England. That is not London, Ontario. And that means that we won't have these crazy sync issues, and we'll probably be drunk. So winning all around. But thank you for suffering with us. Hopefully, I'm sure Steve will be able to clean this up a little bit. But otherwise, I think that does it, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody. Love you lots.